So I eventually ended up making a deal that, hey, I will write your scopes for absolutely free for 90 days. In turn, while I'm writing these scopes for you, you teach me the business. And a lot of restoration companies, they are very understaffed. A lot of people wear too many hats. And I provided a solution because the goal is that in 1 to 2 years, I'm going to leave and open up a franchise, but I will open up your franchise.
Welcome everyone to another episode of The Story of You. We have with us today special guest Frank Ruiz. Mr. Ruiz is the area director of Florida for Restoration Builders. Frank, tell us about Restoration Builders. What kind of business is that and what is your role there?
Restoration Builders is the nation's now largest residential roofing, gutter, siding, and window contractor. We're a consolidation of actually 14 different companies with 36 different offices that got together and wanted to standardize the industry. There's some hard work. We've able to collaborate with different states and actually start to begin not only the standardization of you're going to get the same quality roof from Florida as you will all the way to California, but also implement education and a few technological things. We're one of the pioneers in the online realm. We have Restoration Builders Online where customers can actually meet and speak to their representative, get a quote, and actually purchase a roof completely virtually and hands off. Another avenue that we go is into the federal government and commercial sector. We have a lot of veterans that we support. I'm actually one of them, and we encourage for veterans to kind of work with us. We're actually integrating with the Viper company who helps the transition process from once the vets are done with, giving their service to our country, that they have a way to transition. So we find that by integrating ourselves with not only the veterans, it helps them have an opportunity, but also it gives guys like me another chance to serve again. So this company is very forward thinking. One of the things that we pride ourselves on is that we have ESG, which is environmental, social, and governance. What that means is our impact on the construction world as well as the planet is going to be a little bit less. We recycle materials. We also install recycled shingles, and we're looking at ways to improve our carbon footprint every year. That's one of the champions that not many roofing construction companies do. And that's one of, I guess, our claims to fame. I think the biggest thing is we've also structured and organized ourselves to be the first publicly traded roofing company on Wall Street. And that looks to be happening here in the next few months. So a few of those things presented opportunities, which they needed a licensed general contractor with experience who also held a roofing designation to come in and start with Florida. They put me as the area director. My role is to build and develop our sales force, as well as continuing to monitor the production so that the product that we are putting out is exactly what Restoration Builders wants, with our motto being a customer for life. We're not just looking to be a roofer. We want you to call us every time you need something. So the general contracting aspect that we have, especially in Florida, helps perpetuate, a second opportunity, even third, or even just a referral network for our customers. So we really want to be the one-stop solution for any construction, restoration, or things like that for our customers.
Wow. So I did not know a lot of that. It's what it sounds like to me is that Restoration Builders is really breaking the mold for what roofing contractors are generally perceived to be. It sounds like they have a focus on both, environmental awareness and giving back to the community through its Veterans Assistance Program. So that's I'm really glad that you shared that, because I think that a lot of people will appreciate a company who values those kind of things. So that's it. That's excellent. So let's talk a little bit more about you. And let's take it back to the beginning. Where are you from?
Originally born in California, Navy family. We bounced around quite a bit, and then finally we transplanted here in Florida. And then I spent the majority of my childhood through here, all through grade school. And yeah, I would say I'm a Floridian, but definitely kind of a mover. I've lived in quite a few states all over the country. So
Is Florida your favorite place to be?
second, I love Florida, a lot of family, a lot of fantastic memories. But when me and my wife went to the Blue Ridge Mountains in North Carolina, the views, the temperature was
Yeah.
amazing. And I'm a very nature-driven person. I like hiking, climbing, all those fun things. And we found a wonderful mix. In the summer, you can go whitewater rafting, mountain hiking, camping, you name it. Every outdoor activity is great. And then in the winter, it snows, and that's a lot of fun too. So still, I wouldn't say an avid, but I'm an enthusiastic snowboarder. So I still haven't broken any bones. But I definitely I will start in the morning on the slopes, and they're kicking me off. I'll stay all day as long as whoever I'm with can keep going, and then my body keeps going. I love being outdoors.
That's awesome. I like to ski. This last year I tried I had snowboarded as a teenager and got the hang of it. And then I tried it again in Colorado
Yeah.
this last year, and it was not pretty.
Oh no.
It was not. Like, I thought I was gonna die the entire time because I couldn't figure out how to slow down. And I was going so fast on the Colorado slopes, and like all I could do was just fall down to like not die. But it was pretty scary. I think I will need some lessons and maybe like a bunny slope to practice on for a while before I do that again. So snowboarding is not easy. It looks easy, but it is not. It's much more challenging than skiing, in my opinion.
I would on the opposite end. I thought snowboarding was much more easy to kind of gravitate to.
Really?
Yeah, skiing. I can do both, but I had more fun with the snowboard. With the skis, it was just a little bit different, kind of making sure. But I've ice skated and rollerbladed, so it didn't really get too different. What kind of got to me is that the lean. If I lean too far forward, there we go. Or if I lean even further, I'm doing a tumble. So I was like, I'm just gonna stick to the snowboard where if I have to just lean back and fall on my butt.
Yeah, that's sounds like good advice. I fell forward on the snowboard too, plenty of times because I was like, I don't know,
Yeah,
trying to.
it's a balance thing. If you're ever wanted to take it, there's a thing called an Indo board. It practices balance training, and it helps with your point of balance, which is what you really need on the snowboard. So, but like I said, I'm an enthusiast. So, my advice and a nickel still won't get you a cup of coffee.
So you go snowboarding regularly then?
Not as often as I'd like. It's been quite a few years, but this year at the end of 2022, we are going to head back up to the Appalachian Mountains and hit it. We're aiming for Colorado. We have an office out there, so trying to find a reason to go out to Colorado and knock it out. We've been to Denver, but I've never gotten to snowboard the Sierra Mountain Range, so would love a chance to do that one.
That's awesome. So you grew up in California and also then kind of migrated to Florida. What you have any notable events or awards that you received when you were a kid?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I was actually an essay writer. So I got tested for gifted quite early, and then we would have these annual essays like 2 or 3 times a year, and it was actually just a project that was part of the curriculum. So our teacher would have us write this. We, spent a couple times practicing it in front of people, reviewing it. It helps public speaking. And then she would submit the videos. At that time, they take VHSs as well as the essay itself to the county or state, whoever was doing it. So I won a Dreamers and Doers award. I won a my favorite older person, and then there was a 4-H contest. It was my favorite pet, and I won that one. So it was pretty funny. But as I grew up, I would say changed directions from essays to sports. So people, when I tell them, well, yeah, I used to win essay contests as a kid, they're like, really, you?
Yeah. You don't strike me as an essay writer when I first meet you, but when I hear you talk, and I'm like, okay, like I can see that he definitely is a polished speaker, and so that I can see that translating to writing well also.
Thank you.
So what were some of your essays you wrote about?
And one, I had a grandfather. His name was Sam Alvarado, and he was actually my second grandfather. My biological one died of a heart attack at the age of 38. But he came into our life. He was actually a gunner on a World War II B-25 bomber. And he was probably one of my favorite people to talk to. I would listen to him talk about the stories and the mischief that he got into. And then, some of the things that he would tell me, just even about the training, about the deployments. And I was always fascinated with him. So when they asked us to write about your favorite older person, I told the story of, our interaction. And there was quite a few things. And I remember that one we spoke in front of the mayor. And I want to say, was that 20 or 1994, 95? I don't know. But the mayor at the time heard something that I said in the speech when I was presenting it to the city of Orlando at the bandstand. And it was just a comment that my grandfather made. And, it was, where are you going without education? Don't worry, I'll answer. Nowhere. And from then on, the mayor, he repeated that a couple times, and he shook my hand. He's like, and then my grandfather was there, and they were very impressed with that one. So, but the other one was just about a pet, and it was the way that I was able to articulate, I guess, the story, making it funny, and being able to add a lot of visualization. At that time, I was reading a lot of horror books as a kid. I probably read the Goosebumps series like 3 times each book. So it was really, really descriptive. And I had started reading Stephen King. So it was about creating it. And what it came down to is I was told that the reason they chose us is because my description of my sister's hamster wasn't even my pet. It was just an assignment, but they could actually visualize who the hamster was and what it was doing because of the description that I was able to give them. And then the Dreamers and Doers, when I was a kid, I wanted to be maybe some of my peers might remember Bucky O'Hare, who was a space cowboy astronaut ninja. It was a cartoon.
I don't remember him.
He was like a cartoon rabbit.
Okay.
But, he had so many things, and one of the things that I was aspiring to be, I guess everybody in the 80s was a jet pilot or a military pilot. So when in my speech I had a plan, and I described why I wanted to do it. And, service to my country was a big thing because my family was in the military. My uncle, my father served, so it was just kind of coming down. And they chose it because it was patriotic, and it seemed they could. They said they felt the passion that I had towards achieving that goal.
Well, congratulations on that. I think it's just hilarious that you won for your description of the hamster. Like,
yeah.
Who would have thought? Like you're giving this really, introspective story of your relationship with your grandfather, and then you're like, but I really won because of how I described the hamster.
Right. Yeah.
That's
it's pretty interesting. Actually, my daughter now, we have her do the 4-H, and it's the same essay contest, but we seek it out. There's a scholarship if you win for the kids, but it helps her with her public speaking because that's not one of her strong points. So now we started her in 5th grade, and we're doing it now and again in 6th grade, and continually adding on to it. So it's something that I took, and I was like, it'd be great if you won too. But if not, I can't help but just think so much of the ability to talk to people and to lose that fear, to not be so introspective or just introverted. And hey, we can speak your mind. You can speak what you're thinking. You can have an intelligent conversation with anybody if you just practice and then get your thoughts in order and make an intelligent statement. Don't just be so rash like sometimes unfortunately people do. But I think it's a wonderful thing. So many years ago, I never thought I'd be talking about it again. But
yeah, well, that's wonderful that you're passing on your writing skills to your daughter. How old is she?
She just turned, she turned 10. She's about to turn 11.
And do you have any other children?
Yes, my sons are 15 going on 16 and 13 going on 14.
Okay, so 3 kids. And are they into any particular sports or extracurricular activities?
Nope, they got art. So my family, bunch of artists, but my wife, she was a painter and a drawer, so they love art and video games and pretty far from the sports and everything that I did. But as long as they're happy and like I said, you can do anything you want as long as you get straight A's. Everything. So
that's no pressure on the straight A's.
Yeah, no, I would. It was interesting that sometimes I look at it, it's like, remember they're 10. But now getting straight A's, I do the reward system. So if we get straight A's, I reward that behavior, but the culmination of it. But during the process, we're very adamant about what's going on in your homework, and it's just the constant, checking in. Hey, how's this going? And letting them know that they're there, and when they mess up or they don't achieve something. My daughter's very hard on herself. Hey, easy. It's not the end of the world, but how can we get better? How can we get better? How can we get better? So I always look to that, pull back and support, because, it's limitless what they can do. And it's crazy how the smallest things that we do, that we as parents, could affect them. So I try not to be too much pressure, but our goal is to achieve more than we did. That's the bar that we set. Your parents got here, they graduated college, you're going here and higher.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it sounds like you're someone who, wants your children to grow beyond where you were able to grow in your life. I mean, you still have a long way ahead of you, I'm sure, but you want even more for your children. And you're teaching them now to learn to overcome those fears and to focus on self-improvement as a way of life.
Absolutely.
So moving on to or going back a little bit to your upbringing. So your father was in the Navy, right? Is that what you said? And then let's move on to high school. What was high school like for you?
That was a lot of fun. High school is actually where I started getting into extracurriculars, and that's where I started playing more sports. I had never played organized sports until high school. I started with the ROTC doing those drill teams, and then at the end of freshman year, when they gave physicals at the school so you could play all sports, that's when I decided to kind of jump in. And then from then on, it was football, wrestling, weightlifting, track.
Wow.
And I got pretty lucky, I guess, but I had such an inclination to it and it became more fun than anything. And we grew up in, kind of a second generation style, where our parents were kind of getting on their feet. So it was more fun than just staying at home, because I never had like video games, or my family didn't believe in cable. TV was a luxury, which ironically now I don't buy cable TV. And my kids are like, why don't we have that? And I was like, yeah, I don't want to pay $80 a month to watch commercials. Here, get Netflix.
Well, nowadays we have more options. You can,
Yep.
stream Netflix or Hulu or whatever. When I was a kid, you didn't have any other options.
No.
And my parents didn't believe in TV at all. We had no TV. I
Mhm.
never once had cable.
Yeah.
But there were periods of life where we would have, the rabbit ears and could like try to get the free channels. But my brother was like not doing great in school, and they gave away our TV, and we didn't have a TV again the rest of my childhood and youth years.
Yeah.
And so I can commiserate with you, although it probably was a wise decision, and I probably went farther in life because of that decision. I had to find other ways to entertain myself than watching TV.
Yeah. Too many times. Too many times I think about it. I was like, man, these kids, and they got tablets now, and they got a TV, and they got everything. And I was like, but they have no desire to go outside. Granted, Florida is ridiculously hot, but I mean, I remember getting home from school back when we were kids, and it was, the street lights came on, and I'd hear my mom whistle. I was like, oh no, I'm late. But now they're like, I remember a fun story. So it was about 3 years ago, and they were just cooped up. They're like, we're bored. I was like, go outside and play. I kid you not. We live in a 2-story home. They went outside. They sat down on the electrical box. They didn't move. And then we could see them from our office because it faces the street. And they come in. Can we come in yet? Oh my God.
Yeah, it's very different now. I mean, the iPads too. There's a comedian I heard one time his joke stuck with me, where he says, these kids nowadays, they ride in the car and they've got their iPads and they've got their DVD players and they've got all these things. And then they still say they're bored. And they said, you know what the entertainment was for me when I was a kid riding in the car? I roll down the window, I put my arm out and go like this with the wind, and I laughed hysterically because I totally did that. But yeah, I must have had a much more patience as a kid than I have now, because now I've become accustomed to constantly having a phone or just having music or having something entertaining going on all the time. So it's very different time now. So high school, you become the athlete, and then what do you do after high school?
Well, I didn't get the football scholarship that I was hoping for. So about right after high school, I started framing houses. So the construction industry was still kind of booming. That at that time, that was 2003. So we were at the height of the market, and everybody, like, we couldn't build enough houses, much like we are right now. And I started framing houses, and I'm a fairly big guy, and I was even bigger out of high school. And I ended up framing houses, jumping on the trusses, and then flying roof trusses, and then framing that in. So seeing a 280-pound guy just sitting up there nailing trusses is a little daunting, where everybody else is kind of a little skinnier, but I got a hoot out of it, because I inherited the lack of fear from my dad. He was a real adventurous one too. So, and where he grew up in Puerto Rico, they would constantly jump off waterfalls over 30, 40 feet into, what they hoped was deep enough water. So it's very jump first, ask questions later, and then walk it off. But that led me to, hey, I need more money for bills and things like that, because I wanted to live on my own, and I ended up working 3 jobs. So my buddy comes across an opportunity. His mother was in the mortgage industry. They needed underwriters, and for 1 week's worth of work, they were willing to exchange pretty much almost 2 weeks worth of pay. And I was like, wow, for 1 week, I make more than my entire 3 jobs. And I was like, yeah, just 1 week. So I told them, hey, I'm going to go to a family thing. I made up an excuse to all 3 jobs. Like, all right, you got a week. And then I made, instead of 800, I made almost $1,000. And I was like, and then like, if you did so good, if you want to extend, we're going to extend your contract. So that changed into about 5 years where I was actually a due diligence underwriter. And then I got my level 2 and level 3 certifications through home study. And this was before the wonderful courses that they have now. So it was literally like a thick binder and a bunch of like practice tests. And then I had to go take a state certification. But for 5 years, I was an underwriter, and it was a new city every week almost, except for a couple long-term assignments, like in Georgia. I did long-term assignments in Nevada. There was another one that we got sent to Indiana. I was Indianapolis for a while, Irvine, California, which is kind of fun. So that led me into the mortgage world, which after getting into the mortgage and kind of seeing everything, I started analyzing these people's insurance policies and stuff like that. And then when I was talking to an elder gentleman, his name was Pat, I'll never forget. He's like, look, someone like you, no kids, no this is a great job for you. He mentioned insurance and insurance adjusting. So I asked him what that was, and he's like, it's almost the same thing as this. I started looking into that. Then I got from the mortgage to the insurance world. And, this was about 2007 that I got into that realm. I got my insurance license. I started studying for the adjuster's course. And then I started shadowing an adjuster. I did it for like 2 weeks. And then I had an adjustment with State Farm as a shadow, as a trainee. And we go to do the home inspection of this person that just had a fire. And he's like, all right, well, given that we have these are the guidelines to write it. I can only approve this much. You'll see why. So we're going to try to allocate it over the entire damage. I was like, wait, how do you know what this is worth? Now, having I wouldn't say an amazing background in construction, but having been in construction a few years prior, I was like, yeah, hold on now. How do you know this? So we get in there. I mean, this house is wrecked. But he had what I found out later was a writing authority of only $10,000. So his writing authority is where it stopped for that customer. That customer didn't know anything. There was no one there to protect them, I guess. I see it now as protection, but to help them through this process. They had just had a fire. Their house was completely destroyed. I mean, the lady I still have her face in my head. She was just a breath away from breaking down in tears. And here I am trying to summarize her life with this guy, or assist in this, for $10,000. And it felt so grimy. I felt horrible. And I was like, not doing that. So from there, I just kind of.
So was that your only exposure to being an insurance adjuster? Was that one inspection?
No, I did one fire, one flood, and then one car.
Okay, so that was enough for you.
Yeah, but the flood was pretty easy. And honestly, it wasn't really that bad. They had a retention pond that overflowed, and it got the carpet and stuff wet. So but when I came with him and we trailed in, they had already removed the carpet and did the flood cut for the house. And it was just one room, and there was just drying equipment in there. So that one was pretty easy. But and then the car, we just went to a compound, what do they call the tow lot? And then the car was there. It was wrecked. He took photos, did what was it called? The statement of loss with the customer, and then totaled the vehicle. So that was pretty much it. But like I said, it was that one fire that was like, yeah, no, I don't want to do this. So
is that common to have a writing authority?
What? For adjusters, yes. So level ones, level twos, and then there's level threes. And then of course, you have outside of that. But depending on the insurance carrier themselves, they will send out an adjuster. Brand new ones have little to no writing authority. You see this in State Farm and things like that, where they'll show up, take pictures, and they're gone. Usually you can tell these they're kids or they're brand new in the industry. They don't look like they know what they're doing. They're usually afraid of heights. I've had quite a few of these. They show up in like Honda Civics and little cars, no trucks, nothing that states that, hey, by the way, I'm a seasoned adjuster. You know, they got a notebook and a pad, which I'm not knocking that, but no ladder. You know, they won't have measuring equipment, maybe more just a tape measure instead of a laser measure. It's interesting, but yeah, they'll have writing authority. So, and if you, depending on where you go with a staff adjuster, and I've seen this happen, you know, this is what you're getting, no more, no less. And I was like, all right, well, I can see, and I've kind of caught on to it. About 10,000, then you have a 50,000, and then anything $50,000 and up has to go to the desk and approval. So, but that knowledge came later, like in 2013.
Okay, so you learned that after the fact.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have this brief experience with the insurance adjusting world, decide that's not for you. What happens next?
I got into the insurance and the health, life, health, and annuity field a little bit. That while I still believe in all those vehicles for protection as well as different vehicles for investment, that, you know, talk to everybody as if they're a potential customer wasn't for me. So at that point, I still had the lineage of my uncle, my father serving in the military. I joined the Marines in 2008, and that took me to pretty much 2014. About 2012, 2013, I started to kind of wind out. There's a few other things scheduled in, but I had gone back to college, was getting my degree, and then while I was getting my degree, somebody asked me to come on board and consult for them at a roofing company. They had just started a roofing company, and their guys were selling insurance jobs. And he's like, you can make a lot of money doing this. And I was like, all right, well, that's awesome. How can I help you? He's like, I need to make sure that we're doing everything by the book. Since you have this knowledge, I'll pay you for a day. Very clever marketing. Because it was a recruitment effort. I was there for, you know, one day I came in for a week, and then before you know it, I was just riding along. And then he started showing me the checks and things like that. And I was like, wow, that's highly lucrative. And what gravitated, I'm not sure it's the word, but what really hit to me, and I started to actually gravitate towards, was the fact that it was a tangible service. So in return, I wasn't just going to, you know, write a life insurance policy or a annuity policy, which, hey, you know, we're talking about, you know, somebody's morbidity and mortality. You know, hey, you're going to use this when you're dead or sick. Now
Yeah.
it's, hey, you're living in this thing every day, and there's options provided to you, and I can help you guide through these options. So that kind of sealed it for me. And in 2013, I started full time with a roofing company as just a initial salesman. So went through there. That company was good. We built a sales team. We started doing some really good things. And unfortunately, which is just like many stories in this industry, the money started coming in, and then the profit started going straight towards the owner, and then all the deals and stuff were broken. So started to kind of take off, went to another company, helped them open up, and then, you know, they were wonderful until, you know, about 6 months into it. Then they had to actually, you know, start ponying up the dough, and that's when it got ugly. I went to a wonderful company here in Central Florida, and they were at that time only a roofing production. They provided all the subcontracting for larger companies that were doing the sales and installing, and that's all they did. and he was looking to start a sales team. So I helped him start a sales team. I showed him the insurance world, and hey, by the way, you can do this and that. And from there, they just, quintupled within months. And I was there for a few years. And that's when we had a water loss. So we were installing a roof on that, on a project, and it was a vaulted ceiling 3-story townhome. And what happened is that the Florida rains came in while the guys were at lunch, and there was one guy still working while everyone was kind of taking a break. The rains came in out of nowhere, and he didn't have time to get the tarp on soon enough. Well, because of the vaulted ceilings and how much water got in, it drenched the house in less than 5 minutes. And they had to call in ServPro at the time. And ServPro brought in, I don't know, 30 pieces of equipment, pretty standard. I mean, the house is only probably like 2,200 square feet. It was a pretty good sized townhome though. And they racked up a bill of like 40 G's in 2 days. And I was like, hold on, we're roofers, but what's that about? Like 40 stacks? Are you kidding me? So when I saw that, I was like, I talked to the owner at the time. I was like, hey, I think there's something to this. I'd like to learn this and develop it. He had zero interest in it. He's like, no, I'm gonna stick to what I'm good at. Hey, and I respect that. I was like, well, I think I'm gonna pursue this. So I'm gonna wrap up my projects here, and then I'm gonna pursue a field into that. I then became good at scoping. I got my Xactimate level 2, like the next week after that.
For anyone who doesn't know what Xactimate is, what is it?
Xactimate is an estimating software that a lot of insurance carriers use. It's basically an actuary table that they will average out jobs of like size and type over the course of 30 to 60 days, which it's really like 90 to 180. But they will look up an area and they'll tell you, by the way, a roof of this size, or window job or a paint job or a fire job should cost X, Y, Z. And then you put your bid into this. You line item what you're going to do. I'm going to use this many nails, this much drywall, yada, yada, yada. And they will price it out with a fair market value. A lot of times it is pretty fair as long as the contractor gets to write it. And then on the other side, a lot of times it's unfair if an adjuster gets to write it. This is usually because they don't have a construction heavy background. They have an adjusting background. And while those two things are parallel, they're very, very different. So I became proficient in the Xactimate software because of the supplements and the money pretty much left on the table for the roofing. But when I got into the restoration world, it was just a matter of getting what was owed to a customer and being able to translate my thoughts to paper, to the carrier, and then justify it. So I've used that software to win quite a few battles for customers over the years.
Okay. So you then left the roofing company to pursue water mitigation?
Yep, fire, water, mold. I wanted to open my own restoration company. And I started out looking for a mentor. I must have tried 3 or 4 different people, and they all said the same thing. No, you got to start at the bottom, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, but I've got money. I want to invest. I want to open up a franchise. And, the same questions came up. What licenses do you hold? I was like, none. So I had money and knowledge on how to sell and the ambition to get it, but no technical trade behind it. So I eventually ended up making a deal that, hey, I will write your scopes for absolutely free for 90 days. In turn, while I'm writing these scopes for you, you teach me the business. And it worked out very well. So within the first 30 days, I was writing these scopes and I was learning what to do and how to approach, water losses, mold, and even do some fire cleans and dry outs and things like that. And, they were moving along. And a lot of restoration companies, they are very understaffed. A lot of people wear too many hats, and I provided a solution. Hey, I can do your estimates, and I'm good at project managing, as well as that. I'll be your sponge, because the goal is that in 1 to 2 years, I'm going to leave and open up a franchise, but I will open up your franchise. So I started down that path. And like I said, in 30 days it changed. She's like, all right, I don't want you to do this for free anymore. You're good. What do you need? we made a deal. And then for a year, I was 100% that company running it. I brought in roofing deals that from customers past that, then he saw the roofing side. And then we started to work in that direction. And in 2020, we had a new hire who had been a catastrophic response team for a much larger firm. What was it? BMS Cat. And all he did was respond to different catastrophes around the country. He would sit at home until he got a call, grab his bag and take off for, weeks, months at a time. And Hurricane Laura was heading towards Louisiana. So he's like, look, trust me, go do this, just provide emergency services and watch what happens. So we pulled some money together and I had my first opportunity. We struck the deal and I was like, we go out there, whatever's there, I provide this, we'll split it down the middle. I do the administration, you do the sales, and then we work together with the production. From then we opened a shop in Lake Charles, Louisiana, and it took off. We had $4 million worth of contracts within the first 3 weeks. And we started to move in such a direction. I was like, oh, wow, this is amazing. We ended up finding an interested party who they saw the opportunity and it was their local community. We partnered up with them so that they could have the build back scopes of it. And since we had already captured the emergency services and the mitigation and the tear outs and things like that, from there, that stayed open. And in 2020 to 2021, I saw that, but I was away from home so much. It started to not make sense. And it wasn't that I didn't love Louisiana, because I do. There was just a few things that just didn't gel with that time. I still had, the desire to open up my own shop. I want to be back in Florida. There's a lot of rules and regulations that I appreciate Louisiana for, but I also appreciate that I was able to exit that. But I brought back and came here in 2021. By that time, I'd actually already gotten my own general contractor's license, as well as I'm a licensed roofer. So I hold both those Florida designations. So I'm just kind of adding things to the book. I got my Louisiana mold remediators license out there while I was there, my WRT 500. And, it's just started, stacking things with the knowledge. And then I came back, and that's when I was working a commercial job with who I see as a mentor. His name's Uziel Jeremilo. He's been in this business, second generation roofer. And he mentioned, hey, man, I think this might suit you. Let me tell you what this is about. Because he knew I was going to open up my restoration/roofing company back in Orlando. And I was going to start from scratch anyway. So what he positioned to me is that with Restoration Builders, this is a brainchild. And in this industry, there's a few large training platforms that a lot of people will do, especially in roofing and construction. And I don't want to mention anything because I don't know how he's going to feel, but there is one guy in particular that kind of runs the largest training platform. And in 2017, he came up with this idea that insurance companies are constantly fighting roofers and anybody in restoration. And if they can get roofer A to agree to do something for $10,000 while roofer B is asking for 20, then that's where they can, negotiate them down, or even just say, well, roofer A is going to do it, so you're denied. But his concept was, with everybody being so different and trying to go for the same pie, then why don't we just all sing to the same sheet of music? If we're all saying and operating and moving in the same direction as one united voice, there's no way that the insurance companies can lock you out. We could maximize claims for customers, getting them what they deserve without the headache of arguing with them for months and months on end. This is a wonderful idea, but as you know, ideas in practice are very different. But through that, he created a huge network of attorneys, of PAs, roofers, gutter guys, siding guys, tree guys, anything that you can imagine that you're going to need for an emergency response. And he would bust these guys in by the hundreds. And, now you have these local small, I guess you could say, operations heading up with these big boys, because I don't know if you've ever seen it, but in a catastrophic response to like a hurricane, a tornado, the larger restoration companies move in with, I kid you not, convoys, huge trucks, buses full of workers, and they move in. But when you're a little guy, 3 million and below, you're really out of your realm. But if you can pool resources and work together, the tree guy pulls the tree off, refers the tarping guy. The tarping guy goes, if he's not already, to the roofer. The roofer has the framer, and so on and so forth. And they just start sharing these resources as a united front. And that's where it began. From there, now is a matter of convincing the companies. So they went around for, I think, a couple years, and they spoke to over 400 contractors in an attempt to get them to believe, hey, by the way, we're going to standardize the industry. We're going to change it. We're going to build customers for life. With the professional networks that we have, the training that we're going to implement, it's going to be second to none. And it was like, that sounds good. The only thing you got to do is sign up, and then you got to work by our rules. You're going to have a boss again. And that's when you see from 400 to 30. And then in this industry, especially in the contracting world, there's a lot of stigmas, and stereotypes exist for a reason. They're also like, you got to be able to pass a background check and a drug test. So there you go, even more.
There goes the other 30.
Yep. So pretty funny. But what ended up happening, the 9 originals stayed, and they were in Illinois, Indiana, Texas, Florida, which was Zeal, and those were the main companies. And within those states, they kept growing, and this idea kept growing. Hey, we're going to provide training. And I have to say that with roofing itself, just our training on that is far superior than anybody I've ever seen or been a part of. Most of it's like, hey, hop in a truck, figure it out. You'll learn as you go. There's a playbook, and they spent many hours creating this. All the knowledge is always up to date. I see this as like this changes the industry anyway, because as soon as you get somebody new in this, I understand the sales are everything. Get your name out there, get revenue, get customers, build a base, and then you build a brand. But the stigma around roofers now, especially with the Storm Chaser, is that they were selling cars yesterday, or flipping hamburgers, or their personal trainer. They're just here to get my money. They know next to nothing. But within 2 weeks, you can have this person knowing every part of a roof, understanding it both in an application method as well as an administration portion, so that they know what they're doing and how to speak this language. That part right there sets us head and shoulders above. But to truly be a game changer, Restoration Builders set out to go further. That's when they said, well, we can't just keep making money. How do we give back? So then it became the impact on your community. The ESG came about. And that's when they decided to be a little bit less carbon footprint. And that's when the CEO of the company, who actually was the founder of Waste Management Pro, and he helped take them public. He's like, this is how you do it. There's recyclable applications for shingles, and this is where you go. So that started to pick up. Then there was the actual training, which we now have schools which teach roofing. They went around and got the approval of all major manufacturers in the roofing industry. And soon we will have a school that, once you get the certification through Restoration Builders, you are now an approved installer for Certainty, GAF, TAMCO. You can name any major distributor of shingles and other forms of applications like metal. And that pretty much diploma will be good anywhere, and they will not understand how to install roofs in Florida and the technicalities that go to installing a roof in Indiana. And so they weren't done there. They decided to go even further. With COVID, there was a big need people still need roofs, but people are afraid of people. How can we go around it? So they decided the virtual aspect of it. And now we can do virtual appointments. So a customer can call us, and we can do a touch-free appointment, do everything electronically, and even replace their roof if they were so inclined, having never seen us, touched us, or come within 6 feet of us. And now that's becoming an industry staple that we're cornering the market on. And that's one of the reasons that just those 4, and this is just one conversation that I'm having with him over coffee. And I'm like, That is not the way roofing companies think, man. Roofing companies, it's one sale, then the next, but the foresight that they had, and then came the icing on the cake. And he's like, with what we've done and who we have, we will be the first roofing company that goes public. And I'm not an amazing investor, but I am definitely enthusiastic about making my money work for me. And that's when I was like, so what does this look like? And it became stocks. So when that happened, I was like, then I was like, you've got my interest a little bit more. And then before I knew it, I'm starting up the office. So we officially opened this branch January 1st of this year. And, we've been building our customer base one client at a time, one happy customer at a time, with the notion that we want this customer for life, whether it be a roof now and a paint job later, or even just a phone call. Hey, I need an attorney. I got an accident, or, hey, by the way, who do we call for this, for that? We want to be that hub that provides not only the best professional networks, but also the best professional services for the maintenance of their property. So
one-stop shopping.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So there's a lot to unpack there, but one of the things that stuck out with me that you said that I think is telling is that when you left a very comfortable job to start something new when you went to the it looks like you actually did that several times in your history, but the one time where you left the roofing company to get involved with water mitigation and you were looking for a mentor, number one, that strikes me as wise, because that to be successful, you want to find someone else who's been successful and learn from them. You can speed up the time in which you learn if you're learning from someone who's already had those trial and error, as opposed to trying to figure it all out on your own. And then number two was that when no one was really taking you up on that offer, you found a way to negotiate what you had to offer to get your foot in the door. And that is really impressive to, see the obstacle and find a way around it. And a lot of people, that's when they give up, right? When the challenges are there, no one wants to do it. Okay, forget it. Let me go back to something that is where there's more open doors. But for you were like, nope, like let's find a way around this. What can I offer you? And then that really was what started you on this massive trajectory forward to where you now are. So it's very telling about your personality. I can tell that you're very ambitious, you're very driven, and the sky is the limit, is what I'm hearing from you.
I hope so.
It seems that way. You said that you started this office here. Is that in Orlando?
It's in North Orlando, Lake Mary, Florida.
Nice. Okay. So the services you currently provide, I know you say your goal is for people to call you with all kinds of needs, but as of right now, are you encouraging people to call you now for any needs that they have, or are you still focusing on certain aspects for now?
The company vision for the time being is roofing, siding, gutters, and windows. I do still take customers for remodels and mitigations. We just finished 2 water losses to a bathroom, and we ended up remodeling them. It was just that time. So we just did 2 bathroom remodels, a couple house paintings, and we've got potential new construction on there. But these are one-off projects. So while we can do them, we don't market them, and we're staying kind of in the lane. But yes, if a customer calls me and, hey, Frank, I want to build a house, great, I can help you out. If not, I can refer you out, because I still keep all those resources. But right now, until we get up and going, the services that we offer are going to be roofing, siding, gutters, and windows. Our ancillary service that we do provide, but we don't advertise, is going to be water mitigation. So we can dry out about 2,000 squares. I kept some of the equipment and definitely all the knowledge on how to do it. And this gives kind of a robust approach that we can help you, we can solve an emergency. And why we kept the mitigation equipment is because if a tree falls through a house and we go to tarp it, we move the tree, we do everything. Now they have the water. So how do they fix it? So now we're going to do everything. We'll set up the mitigation, we'll set up the dry out, and I could possibly prevent a huge loss because I've seen it all. Well, sorry, I've seen a lot. I wouldn't say I've seen it all. There's too much.
Sure.
But you can really prevent, thousands and thousands of dollars worth of mold and water damage if you get drying equipment in there. So that's why we don't advertise it. We keep that service, but we do advertise emergency tarping and tree removal.
So if someone has a roof leak, how much would it cost them to have you come do an inspection?
For a roof leak inspection, it's complimentary.
Okay. So someone can have you come out and you'll inspect their roof and give them a recommendation based on what you find, free of charge.
Absolutely.
Okay. And how long does it take for you to generally come out to do that inspection? Are you backed up, or do you have someone who can get out there within a certain period of time?
Usually about 96 hours. So we looked at 3 to 4 days at a max, and we keep the schedule kind of going in that direction. So we have been able to respond within less than 24 hours. If someone has an emergency leak, we've been able to respond within 90 minutes. So give you an example. We have a customer right now in Lake Nona. There's a storm going on, and all of a sudden part of her roof blew off, and she's like, oh my God, there's water coming in. Well, her brother is a realtor, and he remembered me from the restoration days. He called me, and in 90 minutes, I had my guys up there right after the storm, tarping the roof right before another rain band came in. So that was a pretty fast response. But if just for a normal, hey, I've got a roof leak, come check it, I would say about 1 to 2 days. If not, we'll let it go. But we try to keep everything. You call us within the next 4 days, we're going to get out there.
That's pretty quick response time. So if someone wants to reach out to you for an inspection, is the best way to reach you at the number you have on the screen there, 321-430-1556, or at the email info@restorebuildersfl.com?
Absolutely, both of those. So that cell phone number is going to be on 24 hours a day. And that email address it goes directly to me as well as to the production managers. So that is seen by a lot of the upper management in our company. So someone's going to get to you, and they're going to get to you quick.
Is that 321 number a number that someone could also send a text to?
100%. That's my work cell phone. Yes.
Okay. Very good. I know some people, prefer to text over call. So that's important for people to know. So, I usually ask people, where are you going from here? What's the future look like for you? But I think you kind of have told us that you've got all kinds of goals that you plan to take this company to.
Yeah, I would say that our biggest goal is to continue the production aspect here and ensure that we become a staple in the home. So we've done quite a few partnerships. We've aligned ourselves with some preferred vendors just to be approved. And our goal is to become a household name. We'll start running advertising in the second quarter of 2023. And we've already got our commercials made and things like that. So everyone's going to start seeing us quite a bit, but we're doing it organically, making sure our infrastructure is strong. And then of course our response time is going to be at the top tier.
Excellent. Well, I've got one final question for you before we wrap this up. What was your football position?
I was a nose tackle. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. I figured you were either on the offensive or defensive line, being that you said you were 280 at that point. So nose tackle is, the quarterback of the defense.
It was fun. Yeah. I ended up captain of the team. And we had quite a bit of fun. Think I was all Metro, all county, and I was just a few more tackles away from all state. So
wow.
a lot of fun. Yeah.
Well, that competitive spirit, I think is still with you, and that just ambition to excel and be the best. I hear that in everything that you've said today. So I have no doubt the sky is the limit for you and your business. I'm so excited to see where it goes and how it grows from here. It has been a pleasure meeting you and speaking with you today. I thank you so much for your time and your candor, and sharing your story with me. And with that, do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share before we wrap up?
I'd also like to thank you. This is a phenomenal opportunity to get to know you. And I was at your other event. That was so informative, and I can't wait to support it. If there's any way that I can continue to support your events or speak, or if there's something that you have, any questions that you might, I would love to be a part of your professional network.
Absolutely. We'll chat about that more. With that, thank you again. We will stop the recording for now. Until next time, thank you for tuning in.